even if it's not a six-man Hell in a Cell, to have John Cena versus Dean Ambrose and the winner go into Hell in a Cell against Seth Rollins doesn't quite cut it for me. It still leads me to believe that something else is on the horizon. I doubt it's a six-man at this point. But if John Cena wins, say John Cena wins, and he goes on to face Seth Rollins in the cell, what does Dean Ambrose do then? Like, really, after all the antics that he's pulled, you think that he's going to sit back and just let shit go down like this and not have anything to say or do about it? No, that's not going to happen. And let's say Ambrose wins and goes on. You remember the impassioned way in which John Cena talked about the stupidity of Seth Rollins and what he did and what he cost not only John Cena, but the entire WWE, how he reshaped the landscape in a negative way. John Cena's just going to sit in the backstage and let shit go down? No, this is... something has to change. Like, if they can't go through with it just like that, just like they couldn't go through with Batista and Randy Orton main event in fucking WrestleMania 30. But yeah, something else has to be on the horizon here. It can't, like, I'd love to see John Cena and Dean Ambrose. I think it's refreshing, and I think they can make for a hell of a match. But storyline wise, it just doesn't quite cut it for me.
I think it makes a lot of sense what they're doing. It would make sense that Triple H would allow these guys to get their hands on Seth Rollins, but at the same time, mess with them and make them compete in another match. So I really like that aspect of it, but just doing that for a pay-per-view and doing that for a Hell in a Cell match, it just doesn't properly sell what you're trying to sell. It just doesn't bring home the feeling of Hell in a Cell. You don't actually have an announced competitor for that match, and it really kind of limits your personal feud and your real anticipation for the match because you don't know which one you're going to get. And I think that the gimmick itself should be treated better than that. It should be built up. I don't necessarily think that they should have gone away from Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. I think you could have really gotten good stuff out of that, especially if Brock wasn't appearing. And I don't mind Brock not appearing, but I think the biggest challenge they have is explaining such a thing. And they have not done that. They've kind of ignored really saying why he's not going to be there. They haven't really brought home a reason for Brock Lesnar not to want to be there. And quite frankly, he should have a reason to want to be there because he, on 2 occasions of the last pay-per-view, almost should have lost his title. And it was acknowledged by the commentators that he should have lost twice. And there's some sort of, I think as a proud individual, that Lesnar should have the reason to come back and at least appear on Raw, let alone appear on the pay-per-view. So I like from Triple H's standpoint why he would do this, but I think that when you just look at everything wrapped up into one, it's just kind of lame and doesn't really sell Hell in a Cell like it should.
As I've already stated, I'm actually really enjoying the dynamic between John Cena, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins. That's all great, but here's where we arrive at the problem. The only way we could have possibly arrived at the point that we're at right now that allows WWE to tell the story that they're telling heading into Hell in a Cell was what Seth Rollins did to John Cena and to Brock Lesnar at the end of Night of Champions. And here's the thing. I've already said that with me wanting Brock Lesnar to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, there were already things that I had to accept. I had to accept the fact that Brock Lesnar was not going to be on Monday Night Raw every single week. They were only going to have him on the show when his appearance was necessary. Guess what? It's fucking necessary now. I don't give a damn about Brock Lesnar's contract situation when that has absolutely nothing to do with the logical flow of the story that we see unfolding on TV. So you really mean to tell me, like now we're talking about the actual story, you really mean to tell me Brock Lesnar is okay with the fact that Seth Rollins almost cashed in on him because Paul Heyman is okay with it? Because Paul Heyman appreciates the fact that Seth Rollins wanted to make a name for himself at Brock Lesnar's expense? Like, that is seriously the story. Paul Heyman is okay with it, so, oh yeah, you guys don't have to worry about that. Nothing to see here, folks. Just move right along. Like, are you friggin' kidding me? The suspension of disbelief here is entirely too much to ask of me in this situation. And as far as I'm concerned, WWE, go directly to jail. Do not pass go and do not collect $200 because this is some bullshit. It really is. Let the church say amen.
Amen.
At the same time, you can also look at with the Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose feud, I think we talked about this before, how we finally had a feud that could actually build into a Hell in a Cell match and that we could honestly look past the fact that they were mandating a Hell in a Cell match to happen, and we could just enjoy the way that feud was going. I don't know why they would bring Brock Lesnar into that. I don't know why Seth Rollins cash in and this whole direction just to give John Cena something to do, because I guess that is going to be the biggest effect of Brock being there every week, is that the people who he was previously feuding with now have to go find something else to do. And when that guy is John Cena, they really have to find something for him to do. And it's led into this match, which has really cut into the momentum of Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins and their feud, and also really created just a lame kind of card for the October pay-per-view.
Which is why a six-man would have been far better an option than what we got right now.
And that's my whole thing in the situation. Charlie, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the decision that they made to end Night of Champions in the way that it ended, because that's my problem there. Like you said earlier, there's a situation that exists where you could possibly be okay with Brock Lesnar not appearing at a pay-per-view. It's just in this situation and the way that the story was told, I'm not okay with it because they have not given acceptable answers as to why he's not there. And I can appreciate them for the story that they actually are telling, but where the fuck is the champion? Where's the champion?
Yeah, I think I'd be... I think even if Seth Rollins hadn't interfered on Brock Lesnar, well, not really on Brock Lesnar's behalf, on Seth Rollins' behalf, but to help Brock Lesnar win, and it'd been like Paul Heyman or something, we'd still be in the same situation, because Cena got his ass beat in a more embarrassing way than Lesnar was getting his ass beat, and Cena was back, like, what, a week later? So to have Brock Lesnar not even show up, I think really just kind of like ruins the character of Brock Lesnar as well, because John Cena was back on TV asking for his rematch after a week, and we haven't seen Brock Lesnar since he got his ass beat. So
yeah, but see, we know that Brock Lesnar isn't gone because of any injuries that he sustained in Night of Champions or anything like that. He stated before he's a prize fighter. He only shows up to promote fights when he's in these big fight situations. This is a big fight situation. We need to figure out what the fuck he's thinking when it comes to Seth Rollins.
And that's another problem with pay-per-views, man. You have so many pay-per-views, and Brock Lesnar, he says, I'm coming back big fights, and he's the WWE champion. So we got Survivor Series and TLC coming up, and Hell in a Cell. Those 3 pay-per-views don't mean anything. You're telling me that on the TV screen, so, I mean...
I just need to see Brock Lesnar. Like, I need to see Brock Lesnar, hear something from him. Even if it's just a thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to sit back and watch you dumbasses tear each other apart just for the chance to see who's going to get torn apart by me. Like, something like that. Go out there and express your frustration, express that aggression. Let somebody tell somebody, like, get a job or something. Get Zack Ryder. Like, oh, Zack Ryder, you know, you haven't been on Raw in a while, but guess what? We have some good news and some bad news. The good news is you're going to be on Raw. The bad news is you're getting your ass whipped by Brock Lesnar. Something like that. Like, I need to see Brock Lesnar exerting some force on somebody just to know that he's still in tune on what's going on. Because just because you can't be on the show all the times doesn't mean that you can't be connected to what's going on.
Can I also bring up another point? Shouldn't Dean Ambrose versus John Cena be a bigger deal than they're making it?
That could main event the show on its own. That's
exactly this should really come off as one of the rising stars in this company. The guy who's currently in the role of the number 2 face, facing the guy who's been the number 1 face for almost 10 years. And that, to me, is totally being undersold. This is probably going to open the show and lead to something else. It's totally being looked past. And this almost seems like a situation where this would be like Brett facing Hogan in like 92 or something like that. You know, this is like some like legit shit going on here, and they're just glossing over it and with an ulterior motive that really doesn't come off that well.
Using it as a precursor to another match that's supposed to main event later on in the night. I mean, I don't understand the logic of what they're doing. I mean, you set it up to where all of these storylines merged, and then you don't fucking merge them at the pay-per-view. I don't see that's what I'm saying. Something else has to be on the horizon. Like this shit that they're doing right now can't fly as the way it is.
Well, I could possibly understand. No, don't even pull that bullshit. They merged when Seth Rollins interfered in the main event of Night of Champions. That's not something that we're coming up with. That actually happened.
Yeah, but they weren't merging into a 6-man.
They were merging into something that included all of the players in what was going on. And just
Seth Rollins is the focal point. I mean, we've talked about before, and they've teased this. They've shown Randy Orton and Kane being frustrated with the way that they've been used, being frustrated with having to settle all the Seth Rollins fires. I mean, where do we go with Randy Orton from here? I mean, what is there for him to do if it's not in the main event?
I do actually have some thoughts on this whole discussion about Dean Ambrose and why are they just throwing on Ambrose versus Cena, but I don't even want to speak it into existence. So I'm like,
man, we're already at the bottom of the barrel. Only way to go is up.
I'm saying you already ruined the 6-man for me last week.
Here's the thing. It's very difficult for me to say because with all of the great things that Dean Ambrose is doing on TV, it's either two options here. Either A, WWE felt as if they were forced to go with Dean Ambrose and John Cena and this match is happening prematurely, or B, they don't look at Dean Ambrose as highly as we do.